Welcome, age of vintage society. Fred MacMurray was likely the most underrated actor of his generation. True, his earliest work is mostly dismissed as pedestrian, but no other actor working in the 1940s and 50s was able to score so supremely whenever cast against type. Why Fred MacMurray was feared to accept villainous roles. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you're new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Everybody's nice fellow, Fred MacMurray. MacMurray is widely considered one of the most underrated actors of the golden age of Hollywood. He held his own against some of the industry's most talented actresses, including 4 films each with Barbara Stanwyck and Carole Lombard, and 7 with Claudette Colbert, as well as Katharine Hepburn and Joan Crawford. His parts were usually that of the nice guy. However, his best roles came when he played against type as a sleaze in movies. His most famous role was that of the father of the 1960s TV series My 3 Sons. He was typecast for decades as a lovable, friendly fellow, and he capitalised on this by starring in a number of live-action comedies for Walt Disney during the latter part of his career, with his biggest hits being The Shaggy Dog and The Absent-Minded Professor. In spite of his nice guy image, MacMurray often stated that the best film roles he ever played were when he was cast against type in 2 films for Billy Wilder. He played the role of Walter Neff, an insurance salesman who plots with a wealthy heiress to murder the woman's husband in the film noir classic Double Indemnity. In 1960 he played a slimy 2-timing corporate executive in Wilder's Oscar-winning comedy The Apartment. MacMurray appeared in more than 100 movies and a successful television series during a career that spanned nearly 5 decades. Fred Martin MacMurray was born in Kankakee, Illinois, to Meletta Martin and Frederick MacMurray. His father had Scottish ancestry and his mother's family was German. His father's sister was a vaudeville performer and actress Fay Holderness. When MacMurray was 5 years old, the family moved to Beaver Dam in Wisconsin, his parents' birth state. He graduated from Beaver Dam High School, where he was a 3-sport star in football, baseball and basketball. Fred retained a special place in his heart for his small Wisconsin upbringing, referring to any opportunity in magazine articles or interviews to the lifelong friends and cherished memories of Beaver Dam, even including mementos of his childhood in several of his films. MacMurray earned a full scholarship to attend Carroll College in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and had ambitions to become a musician. He could not get a degree. During the period of school and college days, Fred presented in many local bands, played the saxophone. MacMurray played baritone horn in the American Legion Band. Between terms, he worked at a pea canning factory, earning enough money to buy a saxophone, which he played in his own 3-piece ensemble, Mac's Melody Boys. He suffered from severe stage fright, never quite overcoming it, even during his later, deceptively laid-back acting career. The youngest in his class, he graduated at age 16, a 10-letter man who also had the school's highest scholastic average. But he was so busy playing football and working as a musician 6 nights a week that he had little time to study, and he abandoned college in 1926 to move to Chicago. He nurtured an interest in becoming a newspaper cartoonist by enrolling as a night student at the Chicago Art Institute, supporting himself by selling golf clubs in a department store and playing tenor sax with Jack Higgins's Royal Purples, a dance band out of Loyola University. In 1928, MacMurray drove his mother and aunt to Los Angeles to visit relatives. A strapping, handsome lad, 6 foot 3 inches tall, with black hair, brown eyes and a prominent chin dimple. He was a natural for Central Casting, where he registered and occasionally got a day's work as an extra, including the 1929 film Girls Gone Wild. He took a host of jobs to keep the wolf from the door, scraping paint off old cars and working as a freelance musician with the George Olsen Orchestra, the Gus Arnheim Orchestra and the Warner Hollywood Theatre Orchestra. It was during the Warner stint that MacMurray's first big career break occurred. He joined the renowned vaudeville band California Collegians, which featured his talents as vocalist, saxophonist and clown. He also found himself playing in orchestras for Hollywood movies, and it was there that he was spotted by an agency scout and screen tested. In 1933 he appeared alongside another newcomer named Bob Hope in Roberta on Broadway, which would soon be adapted to become the third Astaire Rogers film. The following year, Paramount signed him to a standard 7-year contract. Over the next several years, Fred kept busy, honing his craft and co-starring opposite such A-list names as Claudette Colbert, Carole Lombard and Katharine Hepburn. In particular, Fred's performance opposite Hepburn in Alice Adams, where he plays a wealthy suitor to Hepburn's insecure, social-climbing young woman, ranks among his finest from the 30s. He was once the highest-paid actor in Hollywood and fourth highest-paid in America. MacMurray was a massive star long before Disney or My Three Sons came calling. In 1943 he reached an enviable peak, becoming the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. The Wisconsin native raked in $420,000 that year. That adjusts to about $6.3 million today, which shows how much more entertainers make these days. He was known as an affable nice guy and comedic hero. When interest in that kind of film hero faded in the 1950s, MacMurray took a risk and played darker characters that also won him critical acclaim. When the country entered World War II, Fred tried to join up, but was rejected due to an inner ear disorder. He went right back to work and supported the war effort any way he could. In 1944, director Billy Wilder, sensing MacMurray's potential range, approached the actor with a novel idea. He wanted to surprise audiences by casting him as a heavy. Having received the top salary in Hollywood the prior year on the basis of playing good guys, Fred resisted at first, thinking his public wouldn't accept him as a villain. But he also knew a plum role when he saw one, so finally he took the part of Walter Neff in Double Indemnity. MacMurray also made acting look deceptively effortless. MacMurray's brand of fatherhood emphasized the traditional heartland virtues of patience, probity and a dollop of affectionate good humor in a time of disaffection and strife on campus, in the streets and in the living room. Perhaps that's why MacMurray, though he scarcely appeared on prime time in nearly 2 decades, is remembered fondly by 2 generations of viewers. Even as parents and children were squaring off across the battlements of the 60s, he made fatherhood look as easy as fixing a leaky faucet. Despite being typecast as a nice guy, MacMurray often said his best roles were when he was cast against type by Wilder. MacMurray, the film actor, was really at his best when he was up to no good. MacMurray showed a sinister streak skulking behind that ingratiating grin, and he used it to create the chilling insurance agent who turns to murder with Barbara Stanwyck. Though in later years he admitted regretting those nasty roles because he feared they made viewers dislike him, an ex-fan once informed him on the sidewalk, he also knew what it was about his acting style that made him so effective as a villain. "Whether I play a heavy or a comedian," he said, "I always start out as Smiley MacMurray, a decent Rotarian type. If I play a heavy, there comes a point in the film when the audience realizes I'm really a heel." Off-screen he really wasn't. In fact, MacMurray was much like his TV persona, an amiable, unaffected husband and father who just happened to be one of Hollywood's enduring stars. As he aged, the metamorphosis of Fred MacMurray, sex symbol, into asexual paterfamilias, reached its apogee in his being cast as the wise patriarch. MacMurray's career was revitalized in 1959 when he was cast as the father in the popular Disney Studios comedy, The Shaggy Dog. From 1960 to 1972 he starred in My Three Sons, one of the longest-running television series in the United States. Concurrent with My Three Sons, MacMurray stayed busy in films, starring as Professor Ned Brainard in Disney's The Absent-Minded Professor, and in the sequel, Son of Flubber. Using his star clout, MacMurray had a provision in his Sons contract that all his scenes be shot first. This freed him to pursue his film work and golf hobby. It is also interesting to note that 2 character names on My Three Sons were obviously nods to his real-life children, that of Rob, as in Rob Douglas, and Catherine, Kate. He often referred to his TV son Robbie as Rob, and later TV daughter-in-law Katie Douglas as Kate. He was also close to his TV family, whose members were eloquent in their recollections of MacMurray on the set and of his private life as well. So of course did his real-life family. MacMurray was married twice. He married Lillian Lamont on June 20th, 1936, and the couple adopted 2 children, Susan and Robert. After Lamont died on June 22nd, 1953, he married actress June Haver the following year. He and Haver adopted 2 more children, twins, Catherine and Laurie. MacMurray was one of the wealthiest and, at the same time, most frugal actors in the business. Studio co-workers noticed that even as a successful actor, MacMurray usually brought a brown bag lunch to work, often with a hard-boiled egg. He was the first person ever named a Disney legend. The ranks of Disney legends includes names like Jim Henson, Hayley Mills, Elton John, Tim Conway, Betty White, Robin Williams, Dick Van Dyke, Annette Funicello, and dozens more. The House of Mouse began bestowing the honour in 1987. Just one actor earned the title that year. It was Fred MacMurray, beloved for his starring roles in Disney gems The Absent-Minded Professor and The Shaggy Dog. The superhero Captain Marvel was modelled after him. Fawcett Comics asked cartoonist C.C. Beck to design a new hero for its title Whiz Comics in 1939. He became known as Captain Marvel, though you might think of him as Shazam, thanks to the magic word that gave him the powers of Greek gods. Beck looked to Fred MacMurray, who had been headlining a handful of films for Paramount at the time, such as Men with Wings and Café Society, even when Beck brought the character to DC Comics in 1973. Not only was MacMurray a gifted actor, he was also a shrewd businessman and became one of the wealthiest celebrities in Hollywood. He had a reputation for being extremely frugal and made several wise real estate investments. In 1941 he purchased land in Northern California that became a working ranch. That land is now a vineyard owned by Gallo, producing wines that bear the MacMurray Ranch label. A lifelong smoker, MacMurray developed a series of health problems in his later years, including throat cancer, a stroke and leukemia. He died of pneumonia at the age of 83 on November 5, 1991. He left a legacy of film and television performances. A man of few words and rather shy, he rarely gave interviews. Many claimed that he was much like the characters he played on screen. Indeed, he once claimed that he was a personality, not an actor. He didn't look to get into the film business. The film business found him, and how lucky for us that it did. For a movie star, MacMurray led an unusual life, free from scandal and without much publicity, a genial family man whose affable personality and simple, unpretentious manner belied a fierce personal ambition and solid acting ability. Fred MacMurray is securely ensconced in the American popular culture memory. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Now it is your turn. What do you think about the life and legacy of Fred MacMurray? He was much like the characters he played on screen, an amiable, unaffected husband and father.